Oke, teman-teman, narasumber kita namanya adalah Muhammad Yakubu Abare. He is from Bristol University and he from Nigeria. eh Menempuh S1 di Federal University di Nigeria, kemudian sekarang S3-nya di Bristol University. eh the scope of research interest, Mas Muhammad Yakubu Abare, first in food safety and pathogen control, monogastric nutrition, microbial ecology and interaction, natural antimicrobials in food system, and other. He have many research associate ya from Bristol Veterinary School atau University of Bristol, United Kingdom. One of research is designing and executing studies on immune response in poultry using bacterial challenges ESI and others. So he has extensive experience in international teaching, academic publication, and cross-national research collaboration. The topic that will be presented on this occasion is Islamic Dawah in Europe, challenges and opportunities. So this material, untitled Islamic Dawah in Europe, challenges and opportunities, is prepared as part of our effort to understand the dynamic of Islamic Dawah beyond traditional boundaries, particularly in the context of multicultural and secular societies in Europe. As Islam continues to grow in the West, particularly in Europe countries, Muslims face a unique set of challenges in delivering the message of Islam, ranging from cultural and linguistic barriers, negative stereotypes, legal restriction, and rising Islamophobia. At the same time, Europe presents many promising opportunities for dakwah, including greater freedom of expression, open public discourse, growing interest in the spirituality, and the presence of well-educated Muslim communities. It is our hope that this content will serve as a foundation for thoughtful discussion, academic reflection, and practical action in the field of dakwah, particularly for student educators and Muslim communities interested in contributing positively to Europe society. So, I respectfully invite Mr. Muhammad Yakubu Abare to present his lecture. The time allocated for this session is 30 minutes. So after presentation is discussion. So for Muhammad Yakubu Abare, time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Mas Ridwan. So I'll be sharing my PowerPoint, and maybe then I'll ask you whether you can see the PowerPoint at the moment, and if possible, if there is, for example, any amendment in the PowerPoint, then you can talk to me. Yeah, can you see the PowerPoint, Mas Ridwan, and all the audience?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, you can see it?
Okay, I see, I see.
Okay. فإن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sorry, I think I have to. Yeah, you can all see the PowerPoint, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, 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 okay. So, thank you so much, Mas Ridwan, for this wonderful introduction. For me, it is more of an honor to be with you people all together and also to share my reflections on the Islamic Da'wah in Europe. And I'm going to share it based on personal reflections, the challenges and opportunities from my journey to Nigeria to Indonesia and also subsequently to the United Kingdom. So this journey has given me some unique insight into the different dynamics of Muslim communities. So, and especially from different cultural contexts, like in Nigeria, which is in Africa, definitely I grew up in an entirely different environment. And when I moved to Asia, I got some experiences also from different cultural contexts. And also when I moved to the United Kingdom, so I've seen an entire different context as well. So today I'll share my journey from Nigeria to Indonesia and to the UK. And also I will discuss some of the present challenges Muslims face in Europe, as well as hidden opportunities and some practical step that of course we can take it on every one of us here. So for me, this is not just a lecture, it is a call up to action and also more of discussion from the audience. If they have something in mind that they are more experienced in the context of da'wah or in the context of Islamic education, I'm welcome to take it. And as you said earlier, after the presentation, we'll be having more of like a discussion. I prefer like a discussion more than like questions because I'm actually a student, not a scholar in my sense. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to present only these three or four main points. So, as Mas Ridwan already mentioned during the course of his introduction, he said, I'm a Nigerian. Yes, of course, I'm a Nigerian. I was born into a Muslim family in Nigeria where some mosques and specifically churches, when that Nigeria is like a multicultural environment. And usually in northern Nigeria, we are predominantly Muslims or majority Muslims. So I was born into a Muslim family in northern Nigeria where mosques and churches often stand side by side. But despite the diversity of this religion in Nigeria, I saw how poverty and also like ignorance access or limit people access to Islamic education, especially in the state I grew up, where I saw how to some extent extremism affects people's life and how it totally destroys people's life. Working with an NGO when I was back in Nigeria, I witnessed how Dawa can help solve challenges. So the Boko Haram insurgents, which are like an extremist in northern Nigeria, they didn't just attack villages or villages. They exploited the ignorance of the people to the extent that like they prevent them from acquiring Islamic education. And without knowledge, then definitely people can do whatever they are told to do, being that it's more of a brainwash. So I have seen how extremism can actually like brainwash the entire mindset of people and how it can make them go extreme in whatever they do. And going back to Indonesia, when I moved to Indonesia as a scholarship recipient, I've seen how like moderate Islam integrate some culture, like how Indonesian government specifically focus on Islam Nusantara. I think that is how you call it. I don't know whether my Bahasa is good, and how it like integrated that cultural context into the Islam. So that, of course, led to more of moderation to the extent that hardly would you see some extremist activity, especially in places like Indonesia, because of the integration of cultural context to Islamic education. And moving to Europe, so entirely when I moved to the Europe, I found it like an entire like a traditional shift from Africa to Asia to the Europe. So the entire Islam in the Europe is like a different context, an entirely different type of Islam. And the way people practice Islam here is totally different from how we used or how we grow up. For example, I had a discussion with this lady, being that I teach undergraduate student here. So during the discussion, she directly told me that in the mosque, she prays with her hijab, but when she goes back to school or when she goes back home, she hides her hijab. Why specifically? It is more of a like this form of hatred that people think that people that are wearing hijab specifically are having this extremist point of view. They are actually terrorists, and to some extent, some European countries, especially I think Germany, to some extent they banned the use of hijab. So, unlike Nigeria and Indonesia, you can see how Islam is being like what judged in different cultural contexts. In the Europe, like praying outside is considered as more of a like being that it is a secular society, of course, but it's considered as a like bridging or extending beyond the rules of law here. And of course, it is a challenge for the people living here and the people that grow up here. So they have to some extent, only pray within their houses, or if they're having some a room that they can call prayer rooms, or there are some mosques around that of course people can go and pray, but not just like in any environment they found themselves that you can do in Africa or Asia. So the entire cultural context is different, and how the Muslim mindset grow up, or how they are trained, especially in this location, is entirely different. So this is one of the challenge. And when I travel through these three continents, for me, it gives me more of an insight, and it opens my eyes on how I see the world and how I like judge people. So this is my journey from Nigeria to Indonesia and subsequently to the United Kingdom. And for Indonesia, when I moved to Indonesia, I saw that, of course, there is this religious harmony that exists among people. Being that in Indonesia, from my knowledge, is a world largest Muslim majority country, like 90% Muslim, and also the blend of Islamic teachings with local culture, which you call it the Islam Nusantara. Of course, it is like a moderate or a good way of approach, especially when passing the message of Islam. So this kind of like cultural, or shall I say, Islamic approach of it can be adopted to places like Europe. And when it is adopted, then the message of Islam can easily be passed without any restriction or without any pluralism, because Islam in its own like prevents how we perceive it, and how, for example, directly pluralism is being restricted, especially in the context of monotheism, like Tawheed and the rest. So you must consider that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like the creator of the universe, and only his religion is the best, but you have to respect other people's view. And in European context, Islam Nusantara is the best approach, to the best of my knowledge, from the people I've interacted with, from the scholars I've worked with, and also from the little knowledge that we pass to the people. And the challenges in European Dawah in Europe. So there are some challenges that I will share based on personal reflections. Number one is Islamophobia, hatred for Islam. So, and this is caused because of the media bias and political backlash. If you are to go to like Facebook, Twitter, and even Instagram, or to some extent, some news channels like BBC, CNN, you will see that there is this media bias and political backlash on Muslims. Islam is being considered in Europe as a terrorist religion. And also there is this identity crisis, youth struggle with belonging. So some European Muslims say that Islam is more of outdated, like it is an old version form of religion. So I hear this often, especially when interacting with students. So they consider it as an outdated religion. And also recently I had this discussion with a PhD student here at Bristol. So the thing that the guy told me, he said that I feel too Muslim for Europe and too European for my family. So without role models like Muslim professors or BBC presenters, you see faith as a burden, not a badge of honor. So that is how students, or should I say, people that grew up as Muslim here feel. They feel it. They like feel as if Islam is more of a burden to them. It's not like a badge of honor that they can wear it all around and show people. So this is because of the media backlash and how Islam is perceived as a religion of terrorism, as a terrorist religion, and how like they hear about Bin Laden, they hear about like terrorists in Syria, terrorists in Yemen, and all other places. So this is because of the media backlash, and also there is this community fragmentation. Like if you are to walk in any street in any European city, you'll see that the like the Arabs have their own separate mosques. And people from like Somali or some African nations, they have their own separate mosques as well. And also, to some extent, some Asian communities also try to build their own mosques. So there is this community fragmentation where the Arabs feel like they are more Muslims than other race. So if we are, for example, to like combine all our effort to see each other as one, and like it's more of a collective decision. If we are to do this, we will of course curtail the problem or the challenges of Islamophobia. But if we are to just stay with it within that like a fragment, if, for example, we are divided, then of course the message of Islam cannot easily be passed. And these are some of the challenges that we face here in the Europe. And also there is some intellectual challenges, misrepresentation and weak engagement with the people that are not Muslim. Like without providing effective facts to people, people nowadays just like consider fact as the main reason that they accept Islam. So if we cannot present the fact of Islam in a very, very factual way, then of course people will not easily accept Islam, and they will see Islam as an outdated religion, and like hardly would they just accept it based on like the weak representation that we are giving to them. And there is this identity crisis among Muslim youth, as I've mentioned earlier. Like there are some second and third generation Muslims which face a belonging issue, and they are caught between their cultural identities. They struggle whether like they are real Muslims, being that of course they grew up in the Europe, and they find Europe as more of a secular society that they can do whatever they want, and the secularism versus Islamic values. Many youth distance themselves from the religion because of this, that, for example, media bias and Islamophobia, and also difficulty reconciling with faith with the Western lifestyle. So there are things that for them they find it normal, while in Islam it is more of haram and it is not like okay for them. So they find it very difficult to reconcile their faith with their entire lifestyle, especially being that their mindset was built on that from a young age. So, and they are having this like a lack of strong Islamic figures in academia and the media or in their midst that they can pass them for them like a specific message. And of course there are some few visible success stories to inspire them. So the mindset, the way they grow up is like entirely different, and changing that kind of mindset, it requires a lot of effort, to which maybe we are going to discuss in the future. And there are some opportunities for effective da'wah here in the Europe. The first one is engaging in interfaith dialogues. They cherish interfaith dialogues to the extent that everyone can spit out their ideas, their facts. So if there is this interfaith dialogue in a very logical manner, then of course it's like an opportunity that can easily be presented. And the lack of political engagement, a lot of people here, being that they are considered as immigrant, they hardly participate in civic processes. But if you are eligible to participate in civic processes, it will be an effective way to pass the message of Islam, to pass like a lot of facts to people, to the wider audience, that they can serve, that it can serve as a representative of Islam, and also leveraging the use of social media platforms. Being that there is freedom of speech here, you are a Muslim, you are a Christian, you can easily pass a message on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or any other means. and also some community building through like organization strengthening mosque activities, and of course using posters. So these are some of the opportunities of da'wah, especially in European countries. And if we are to implore that or try to do that, then of course we can pass the message of Islam in a very easy way, being that it is a civic society. It respects the idea of each and every one of us here. And as we all know that da'wah is not a single man's effort, it is more of a collective effort. So if we are to do this, I know that for sure we can pass the message of Islam, and it will be more of like a reward for us, ajr for us in the hereafter. And as I've mentioned earlier, there is this media and digital da'wah, like through social media. We can change the entire narratives. Like Muslim influencers reshape the narratives, and also through podcasts and YouTube channels, reaching out millions of people. Specifically, we can do that in order to counter the misinformation through some well-researched and engaging content. So we can only do that if we are to provide some fact-based responses to stereotypes that is affecting the Muslim community, and also some media partnership using some journalists like BBC present a balanced views on Islam. So the entire narratives of Islam can be changed through social media and channels news through some news channels. So of course, if we are to do that, we can change the entire narratives instead of other people to tell our story. So we can of course tell our story by ourselves through this social media platform. And for me, there are some practical recommendations which I feel like, of course, if we are to do that, we can pass the message of Islam and we can convey the message of Islam in a very effective manner. Number one is mastering the language and culture of these people. Like if you are in France, of course, mastering French is an important way to pass the message of Islam. And if you are in Germany, mastering German language, of course, the Dutch language, like it's an effective way to pass the message of Islam. And if you're in the UK or England or Scotland, of course, mastering English is an important way to pass the message of Islam. Like without knowing the cultural context of people, you cannot just pass the message, even if you're fluent in the language. So staying with them, knowing their way of life, knowing how they think, will help you to like pass the message of Islam in a very appealing way to them that they can easily accept. So mastering language and culture is a very important point to consider when passing the message of Islam, and also seeking mentorship from experienced Dawah scholars. Being that, of course, we are all learning day by day, but there are some people that are experienced in this field that spend 40 years in their field, 50 years, 30 years doing this Dawah, passing the message of Islam. And let us remember that passing the message of Islam is not just restricted on the scholars. Even if you are a student of knowledge, passing with a single verse is more than sufficient enough for you to engage Muslims or engage the wider public and send the message of Islam in a very effective manner. And also engaging in public discourse, not only through verbal communication. You can write articles, you can join debates confidently, especially in academic environment. So it's not just only through verbal means or oral means. You can write through social media in order to pass the message of Islam, and balancing tradition as well as context. As I've mentioned earlier, when I was in Indonesia, for me, the balance between culture and Islamic education makes Islam more appealing to people to the extent that they can easily take it. So balancing the way of life of people in any context you find yourself, and Islamic education is very efficient, or is very useful in passing the message of Islam. So these are some of my practical recommendations. And for me, I will also extend some call to action to Muslims, especially for students We should become ambassadors of Islam through education. And also for scholars, you should produce quality research explaining like how Islamic principles are. You should bridge the Islamic theology with Western thought, and also through activism, engaging in community work, showcasing the beauty of Islam, building alliance with non-Muslims supporters. And this can be done not only if you are in the Europe or no, like Asia. No, no, no. You can also pass the message through social media platforms, online debating platforms. There are a lot of online debating platforms like LinkedIn and the rest. So passing the message of Islam is not an individual responsibility, but a collective responsibility. And we should remember the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, Balliguni walau ayah, like you should convey from me, even if it is a single verse. So it is more of a collective responsibility for all of us. And I believe that as a Muslim or as people that are following the practice of Islam, we can do that through different means. We all have our own kind of experience, and there is this zalaqatul lisan, more of like a fluency in language or the way we talk. There are people that they can use only one or two words, but they can deliver the message in a very effective manner that everyone can understand. So we all have our own experiences and way of discharging or disseminating information to the wider public, especially to non-Muslim that are not practicing. So these are some of the recommendations, and from my personal reflection or experiences that I can share with you people. And we should remember that the Prophet ﷺ said, convey from me even if it is a single verse. So I believe by doing that, inshallah, we are all going to achieve and pass the message of Islam in a very effective way. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, Mas Ridwan, and all the audience. If we have any question or a discussion, we can just do it now. And yeah, the floor is open. Thank you.
Oke,
Thank you.
thank you, Mas Abare.
Yeah,
Uh,
thank you, Mas Ridwan.
I'm sorry. The material is very good. We
Yeah.
now have an understanding of preaching in Europe, which turns out the Islamophobia we have heard so far is just propaganda. And we can do some
Yeah.
preaching activities, one of which is through the media. This is
Mm.
very interesting because many of the students here are from the Islamic Communication and
Oh,
Broadcasting study program, Unugha
oh,
Cilacap.
that's good.
Oke,
That's
teman-teman,
great. Before
next
before before the question, Mas Ridwan, I have
ya.
like an addition to what you said. Islamophobia is not just a propaganda.
Oh ya
In the
ya.
Europe, yeah, it actually happens to the extent that Muslims are considered more of terrorists, and this is because of the media bias and some
Oh,
like the backlash.
oke.
Especially considering the 9/11 that happened in 2001
Hmm.
in America through the tower, like the Twin Towers. So after that,
Hmm.
that destruction
Oh,
of the Twin
Qaeda ya.
Tower or the World Bank, so it creates some media backlash and some media backlash about
Hmm.
Islam, that Islam is like a terrorist religion, and not everyone that is a Muslim that is good. So some people find it very, very surprising, especially if you're a Muslim and you're very kind. So they find that attitude like an entirely different perception to them, when that they consider all Muslims as terrorists. So
Oke.
it do happens even here,
Oke, oke,
but
oke.
being that it is a plural, it is a secular society, so people are like you can voice out your opinion, and you can like disseminate the beauty of Islam through different means.
Ya,
So
ya.
of course, everyone has that privilege. Yeah.
Oke. Okay, thank you, Mas Abare. So, to all participants, next I will open a discussion session. If anyone has question, please raise your hand. I see in chat, Mas Abare.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Uh,
just saw it now. Just saw
Mas
it.
Yusuf,
Mhm.
are
Yeah.
you any question
I
from
think
Mas Yusuf? What's the biggest culture shock that you got when
yeah,
you
yeah.
moved to UK in terms of religion?
So I think this is the right platform to share this experience. And it is more of a like a very big cultural shock when I came here to the United Kingdom. Uh, the first cultural shock I experienced was, they're having this gay relationship, like LGBT. I don't know whether in Indonesia you know about it, like lesbianism and LGBT. Like women look for women and men look for men. So the first cultural shock I experienced was at the Heathrow Airport in London, you know. So the moment I land, I saw like two men, like, you know, having this interaction in public. So for me, it is a cultural shock. The way I grew up, like I have never seen two men having a relationship, you know. So, but when I land in Heathrow Airport, I saw two men having like, physical relationship in public. So it is more of a cultural shock for me. And I know that as a Muslim is something that, of course, you have heard of it in the Quran, like it is the amal of Ahlul Lut, like the people of Lut and the rest. But like I have seen it physically. So for me, it's more of a cultural shock. So this is the first cultural shock that I've experienced. You know, this is the first cultural shock. And the second cultural shock is during a meeting. During a meeting, I wasn't like asked whether I eat pork. Do you know pork? The meat of a pig, right? The meat of pig is pork.
Yeah, yeah,
So I was asked. I wasn't asked whether I can eat pork or not. So I was directly served pork. And
yeah.
on the plate, when I saw the meat, I was like surprised. Which kind of meat is that? So upon asking, I was told that it is pork. So
Mhm.
it's more of like a challenge and a cultural shock for me too. So there are other cultural shocks which I don't think maybe here is the right platform to share them. But there are a lot of
Mm.
cultural shock. Number one is gay. Number two is eating pork. Yeah.
Pok, ya.
Mm.
Oke, jadi Mas Abare shock dengan LGBT tadi, ada gay gitu ya.
Mm.
Karena ya di Eropa ternyata hal itu hal yang biasa gitu. Oke, Mas Abare, next Mr. Farozi want to ask.
Mm.
You remember Mr. Farozi?
Oh
He
yeah,
is
yeah, I
my,
remember it.
yeah, my,
Assalamualaikum Mas Abare.
Waalaikumsalam, Mr. Pak Harun.
Yes, your presentation is
Pleasure.
very well, very essential and interesting topic.
Th-
I will
Thank you so
ask,
much.
uh, as you know, Muslim in Europe is not originally European, you know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they come from Middle East and Africa and India.
Mm,
How
mm.
to be part in participation for engagement, political engagement.
Yeah, okay. Like every country has their own rules. Some, like for example, in the United Kingdom, like if you come like on a temporary visa and spend at least before initially it was even 2 years, but for now, if you spend like 5 years, you can earn like the British passport and indefinite leave to remain in the UK. So of course, by earning that passport and also the indefinite leave to remain in the UK, you have this political like autonomy that you can run for offices and everything that a citizen can do. Of course, you have that privilege as well. So running for political offices, there are like political offices not like directly through the government as well, even within like the school setting, of course, like people do engage that, or even some non-governmental organizations. But usually, especially one of the Labour Party leader right now, she's a Nigerian. She was like brought by her parents to Nigeria, to the United Kingdom, and subsequently earned the citizenship. and now she's the Labour Party leader in Britain. So there are like a lot of voice, and it depends on the context or the nature of the country. I know of UK that if you spend 5 years, you can of course earn the British citizenship, and by earning British citizenship, you are able to contest for any political office. And of course, passing the message of Islam can be done in a very easy way. Yeah.
Oke, Mas
Thank you
Abare.
very much.
Cukup, Pak Rozi?
Okay.
Is that
Oke.
okay, Rosie, or is it like, were you able to get the point that I was trying to make?
Ya, Pak Rozi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oke, I think the signal is bad. So, ini selanjutnya banyak pertanyaan di chat ya, teman-teman ya. Sebisa mungkin disampaikan langsung ya. Oke, Mas Abare, the next question from Askia Nufus. Uh,
Okay.
is yours to Askia. Disampaikan langsung Askia, nggak apa-apa, sambil belajar. Halo Askia.
Okay, I think I saw
Okay,
the question.
I think the signal is problem. So next question
Okay, and
from Askia Dimas ya.
yeah,
Dimas. Time is yours, Dimas. Silahkan Dimas.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. May ask about how can Islamic dakwah engage effectively with European Muslim youth?
okay, I think I've understood the question. Well, during my presentation, I mentioned some of the like opportunities and the way forward. One of them is through engagement in a very logical and philosophical way, because you know the mindset of people that grew up here in the Europe, theirs is more of like a logical reasoning. And also they only want to see facts in order for them to make a difference. So without seeing that fact, hardly would they accept the truth, you know? So number one is through engaging the wider public with a logical and philosophical view of about Islam. So based on Islamic facts, not based on personal experiences. So number one, effectively that work can be done through that channels, and there are other means like using the social media platforms and changing the entire narratives about Islam. So through that also can be done in order to effectively pass the message of Islam. Yeah, so this is my personal recommendation, and this is based on personal reflection. Yeah, thank you.
Oke, paham ya Dimas ya? Udah dijelaskan ya. The next
Paham.
question from Marisa. Time is yours.
Okay.
Silakan Marisa. Marisa Aska, silakan.
Okay. Assalamualaikum. Hello, sir. I'm Marisa Azka Fadila from the Nahdlatul Ulama Al Ghazalina University, Cilacap, Indonesia. I want to ask you something, sir. How can Muslim community in Europe engage in effective outreach and dialogue with non-Muslim, promoting mutual understanding and respect? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much, Marisa. This is an excellent question. You know, the Europe is more of a secular society, so they value this pluralism. You know, that everyone can voice out their own opinion without restriction. So effective dawah can be done in a very different manner, like various ways. Number one is through public engagement. You can even go out and pass the message of Islam and no one will harm you. You know, they don't have this restriction. They have freedom of speech, and everyone can voice out their opinion. So number one is through voicing out opinions about Islam, and also number two is through changing the entire narratives and engaging in debate in a very factual way, and also through showing good manners. You know, if you are to show people that you are a true Muslim and you have good manners, then of course it would be like an advantage. It will be an effective way of passing message rather than just oral communication. So these are some of the ways that, of course, by doing that, we can effectively like engage in da'wah, and they will respect our views. They will easily accept Islam as a religion of peace, as a way of life, and of course as something very important and good to them. So through dialogue and through like confrontation, public speech, you know, writing and articles, newspapers, publications in Islam. So these are some of the ways that if we are to do it, for sure we can effectively pass the message of Islam, and everyone can easily accept Islam in a very peaceful way, and it can change the entire narrative about how the West perceive or see Islam as a terrorist religion, as a religion that bomb people, a religion that is not peaceful, you know. So we can change the entire narrative through that, especially through confrontation and dialogue. Yeah, thank you so much, Marisa. I hope I have answered your question.
Oke, ini Marisa dipuji nih, pertanyaannya bagus tadi. Excellent question.
Thank you, sir.
The next question, ini udah siap kayaknya ya, si Askia ya. Askia, time is yours.
Excuse me, sir.
Ya, introduce yourself ya. Perkenalkan dulu ya, namamu siapa, dari prodi apa gitu ya.
My name is Askia Nufus. I'm from Islamic boarding school. Islamic boarding school.
Purwokerto?
No. She is from Communication and Broadcasting program studi of Communication and Broadcasting.
Sorry.
Okay, it's all right.
Okay, no problem.
My name is Askia Nufus. I'm from Islamic Communication and Broadcasting Islamic. I want to ask you my question. So the question is, how can Duat prepare themselves for future challenges and opportunities in Islamic da'wah in Europe? Thank you.
Okay, but she's just off. I don't know, like, have you got the question, Master Ridwan, whether you can repeat it for me?
Yeah, what the opportunities to the next feature in da'wah in Europe?
Okay, yeah, the opportunities is that, you know, being that Europe is more of a pluralistic society, and of course it gives privilege to anyone regardless of your background. You can easily disseminate information without any restriction. So this is, of course, one of the greatest opportunities, and also through like unions, community development, especially if you're like in an academic setting. Of course, you will meet different people from different backgrounds, but the single thing that unite us is the Islam, you know, the message of Islam. So building like a union or association, and of course, interacting with a lot of people will help you pass the message in a more effective manner. Because if you are like alone, of course, you will not have that strength of passing da'wah, and your da'wah will not be much more effective. But if you align yourself with other communities, then it will serve like a strong foundation for you, a strong bridge that it can not be easily shaken, you know. So these are some of the opportunities: interacting and mingling together with other unions, as well as direct message through posters, through like social media platforms, changing the entire narratives about Islam, and also some organizations. So interacting with such kind of organization, especially even if it is a non-Muslim organization, will help in disseminating the message of Islam. So this is a golden opportunity that each and every one of us, if we are to take it, it will serve as a means of passing the message of Islam, and Islam can easily be accepted to people. And as I've mentioned earlier, it's not just about passing the message. The Islam should reflect in our behavior. So if we are to change our entire behavior or to suit the behavior of a true Muslim, then of course people will try to copy us, and they will Islam will be much more appealing to them. So this is my point. And of course, I think if we're to do that, it will provide a golden opportunity for us to disseminate the message of Islam. Thank you so much.
Oke, gitu ya
Yeah.
Mbak Askia ya. Jadi banyak sekali yang bisa dilakukan, salah satunya media. Oh ya Mas Abare, eh can we from Indonesia also do dakwah through the media for European people?
Yes, of course. I think it's one of the points that I mentioned, that some of the opportunities that we can use as Muslims. You don't have to be there physically, rather through social media, because social media is a very strong tool. As I've mentioned earlier, the perception of Europeans is that there is this media bias that consider Islam as a more of a terrorist religion. The stereotype of, we can change the entire narrative through social media, not necessarily if we are here physically to show them our no, but at least the entire narratives through engaging in a factual debate, not argument, but factual debates, and also passing a message about Islam in a very beautiful manner to the extent that people can easily understand. So by doing that, of course, we can make difference and change the entire narrative, and the beauty of Islam can be seen by everyone. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the last question. I'm sorry to all participants, all participants. Mas Abare only have time only 1 hours for this event. So,
One skin, Mas Ilham.
Pribon Warazi,
One skin is possible.
ngapunten
Okay.
Pak, putus-putus suaranya.
Yeah, it's okay.
Boleh
I think
satu lagi.
Pak Rosie can
Oh ya
ask,
ya ya.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
satu dulu ya Pak. Ini Mas Yusuf dulu. Mas Yusuf
Okay,
will
okay.
ask to Mas Abare. Time is yours, Mas Yusuf.
Okay.
Halo, Mas Yusuf.
I think he has asked so many questions on the chat, but I don't know whether is he online or not.
Okay. Next question from Pak Farul Rozi.
Okay, Mr. Abare.
Okay, Pak Rosie.
Okay. What do you think about crisis identity? Because I think identity crisis in Europe for Muslim in Europe, I think uh, Muslim have not identity crisis, but the
Yeah,
youth in Europe have identity crisis because I think they lost spirituality and
yeah,
they lost their identity, and I think many people in Europe, young people, I think there is no spiritualities or religion. I think
yeah. Yeah, Parosi, I think from your question, the thing is, it's not that they lack entire spirituality, when if they're staying in the Europe, what is happening is that, there is this a mindset. The way they grew up, they are thinking that they are two Europeans and they are two Muslim. Personally, they consider their family as two Muslim or two Islamic. But for them, they see themselves as European. And ideally, the Europe is not a Muslim nation. So there is this identity crisis, whether they are two Muslims or they are two Europeans, So they struggle with that in the context that to the extent they feel like if they align themselves with Islam totally or 100%, then of course they are not Europeans. There is this identity crisis, especially if they go to or mingle with friends at school or workplace or like any other place. They see themselves more of Europeans than Muslim, and not knowing that like Islam is more of a religion. It's not like an entire identity of a people. So integrating the cultural context or the way they grew up or the way or their entire mindset with Islam is like they find it to some extent very difficult. But though there is no identity crisis for a grown up that like just visit the Europe or stays in the Europe, meaning that the mindset already was built on Islam. So there is no this identity crisis, but especially among the youth experience a lot of challenges, especially because they mingle with only European, and also all the people they interact or associate or friends or acquaintance, they are mostly Europeans. So there is this identity crisis among the youth, but not specifically from the older generation, and that is why I mentioned through during my presentation that the second and third generation Muslims, of course, they suffer from this identity crisis specifically because of this challenge. Their mindset, the way they grew up, and the way they consider people, especially if they are being considered as Muslims. And the thing that will surprise you is their mindset, their entire mindset, even the way they eat food, like the way they interact with other people, the way they mingle with their peers, you will see that the entire mindset is not according to Islam because that is how they grew up and they see nothing wrong in it. Recently, I think we're having this Islamic society in our university. So there is a recent convert, or should I say revert, that like reverted to Islam. So for the guy, he feels like praying Salah is more of a burden to him. So, but for like, it's more of a burden to him because he grew up not praying Salah. So the first thing as we were all taught in Islamic school is that do not impose on that person that he must pray a Salah instantly. Rather, show him the beauty of Islam. So that will attract him in order for him to like learn Islam. And by learning Islam, for sure, he will get to realize that praying Salah is one of the pillars of Islam. So there is this a lot of like identity crisis, but usually it's amongst the second or third generation Muslims in the Europe. Yeah.
Okay, Mas Abare, thank you because now in Indonesia is at 4 p.m. and
Oh, it's 4 p.m. Yeah.
yeah, I know you after this event you have meeting. Jadi teman-teman
Yeah.
ini harus kita selesaikan itu ya. Thank you for your to all participant. And I see in here is your brother, Mas Abare.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think a lot of I think because I shared the link with people, so
Ya,
a lot of people have joined, and
ya, ya.
yeah, there are some of my
Assalamualaikum,
brothers and
Mr.
some of my
Syarif Zakaria,
Waalaikum,
Mr. Usman.
oh
Assalamualaikum.
yeah, yeah.
Waalaikumsalam.
Yeah, introduce myself.
Yeah.
My name is Iwan.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
My name is Usman Abubakar. I'm student at the master student at the University of Indonesia.
Oh, in Indonesia, University of Indonesia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Ini
Yes, yes, yes.
UI Depok ya, anak Depok ini.
Most one, I think I
Ya,
have a meeting by this time, so I have to join the meeting right now. And it's nice
Yeah,
meeting
okay,
you, all of
okay.
you. And
oke oke.
yeah,
Oke,
yeah, thank you so much.
the last agenda is take a photo, Mas Abare. I'm sorry. To all
Okay,
participant,
okay.
please open your camera. Kita sesi foto bersama dulu ya. Satu, dua, tiga. Oke, thank you Mas Abare for your time. and
You're
may
welcome.
Allah bless you. To all participants, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to Mr. Muhammad Yakubu Abare for this insightful presentation and meaningful contribution. So finally, I apologize for any shortcoming in my role as the moderator. May we continue to learn, collaborate, and grow together. Thank you once again. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon and see you at our next academic event.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Thank
Waalaikumsalam
you, Mas
warahmatullahi
Abare.
wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Bye.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Halo,
wabarakatuh.
Mr. Usman.
Waalaikumsalam.
Yeah, Mr. Usman. Sometime you must going to masih di sini nggak ini?
Iya bro, PAD bro.
Ya,
Lawe.
saya tak matanya video di sini.
Oke, teman-teman terima kasih ya. Tadi paham semuanya yang dimaksud ya. Ini
Lah,
absennya
bahasa
saya
Inggris
kirim di
orang
kolom chat ya.
ngomong bahasa Inggris orang ngerti lah.
Bu Sri paham lah bahasa Inggris lah sedikit-sedikit.
Pak Nur Hasan itu Pak Nur Hasan yang
Pak Nur
ahli Inggris.
Hasan. Pak Masudi paham ya tadi ya. Banyak yang tanya jadi paham.
Makasih Pak dosen, selesai gini nggih.
Nggih, matur suwun semua nggih.
Paham lah Pak.
Paham. Kita belajar bersama-sama nggih. Saya juga belajar bahasa Inggris, Pak. Oke. Terima kasih ya teman-teman ya. Matur suwun Pak Rosi.